Hello, faithful, and welcome to another edition of White Throne Metal Radio's Top 10 Songs. I am your host, Keven Crothers, station manager for White Throne Metal Radio and staff writer for Heaven's Metal magazine. You can find links for both of those in the description below. No, it's been a while, a couple of weeks, amid the coronavirus pandemic. Got called back to work, so I've been working a lot of hours. Haven't had too much time to add video content to the channel. I hope you'll enjoy this one. Today I want to talk about classic Christian hard rock slash metal, mostly hard rock band, Swedish, from Sweden, Jerusalem. One of the first album came out in 78, the follow-up came out in 80, and definitely have a sound more akin to something like Uriah Heep, April Wine, Deep Purple, maybe Thin Lizzy a little bit, The Who, kind of all these influences in there. A very long history, but not a huge discography. And again, this is my top 10 favorites, subject to change. This isn't like some type of scholarly critique or anything like that, but to talk about another one of these great Christian hard rock bands that frankly time and pieces are still going. Ulf Christensen really has been the rudder that has steered the ship. One of the few of the classics that I haven't seen. Never had an opportunity to see them here in the United States. The times that they did come through and tour the U.S., it was before I was old enough to start going to shows, and frankly, the best of my knowledge, they never ever made it out here to the West Coast, let alone the San Francisco Bay Area. So I want to talk about their albums briefly. There are several, starting with 1978's. This is the debut album. It is Jerusalem. They actually, a copy of, because originally all the records were done in Swedish, a copy of this was forwarded to Glenn Kaiser from Resurrection Band, and Glenn at that point forwarded it to, as I understand the story, forwarded it to Mr. Pat Boone. Yes, that Pat Boone. He at the time was working and had an investment in Lamb and Lion Records, which in a roundabout way was, you know, and I'm not sure exactly all of the intricacies back then, but were distributed by Refuge Music back in the day, 1978, and they met the guys, and somehow they got some kind of a record deal going. And they went back and re-recorded the albums in English. This is the follow-up 1980s album. It's simply called Volume 2. Also on Lamb and Lion. And let's see here. Again, I want to try to keep the video short if I can. All lyrics, that's what you get on the inside. These are all, you know, U.S. Sorry, I didn't pop this one open for the debut album, which really is just called Jerusalem, or Volume 1. Jerusalem, for the most part, has been Ulf Christensen on guitar and lead vocals, Michael Ulfsgaard, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, on bass guitar, and then Peter Carlson on drums. Those three, with Dan Tybel, produced the bulk of the catalog. The albums that they released mostly in the 80s. But when they started, like I said earlier, you know, they had this, they're still a very 70s sounding hard rock slash metal band. They're Hammond organ, you'll find. The arrangements are a little different. Ulf's vocal back early was a deeper guttural you know, I don't know, baritone, I guess you might say, or tenor. As far as the distinguishes of, he had a deeper sounding voice. Their follow-up after Volume 2 was Warrior. This came out in 1982, also on Lamb and Lion. And a lot of classics on this album. Great, frankly, fantastic album artwork, right? I would love to have a t-shirt of that. And it's a great record. After that came Can't Stop Us Now. A little more, not quite as, where the first two albums were very 70s. Warrior had a little chunkier guitar, a grittier sound. Great songs again, but better production. The first two definitely were more 70s. The guitar was very, it was a little more thin, and the drums weren't all that great. There's still good songs on there. Warrior, heavier, just a little more, I don't want to say progressive, that's the wrong term, but there are definitely some different influences there. Can't Stop Us Now, as I understand it, was recorded in Ireland. A little more melodic, not as heavy. It was a little disappointing for me. Followed up by 1985's In His Majesty's Service, an all-time classic live album with a couple of tracks on here, frankly, you don't really find anywhere else. And a great album. They actually shot video, live video for that. You've been able to find it on YouTube from time to time. After that, Dancing on the Head of the Serpent, probably their most successful album. And, you know, on this particular record, the story goes that they recorded the whole record. Ulf was not happy with it at all, and they went back and re-recorded the whole thing. And there's your Refuge label, which is kind of funny because they always want to say this came out on Pure Metal. Well, Refuge Records, it doesn't say Pure Metal here. I think there might have been additional pressings where it did say Pure Metal, but 1988, and that was... Then after that, there was a 6-year sabbatical, and then Prophet was released. Totally more like a U2 kind of sound, but heavy. A great record. Some fantastic songs on here as well. There is live performance video of them at Flevo in Holland on this tour. A great album. Now, of the ones I showed prior, they've all been reissued on CD. Thank you, Retroactive Records, Mr. Matt Hunt. I have the edition for Warrior. Sounds fabulous. I also have the Live in the USA in His Majesty's Service. And I also have the 30th anniversary for Dancing on the Head of the Serpent. This edition, actually, has both versions. It has the Swedish original version, and it has the re-recorded that was released here in the United States. I actually had somebody way back when, they sent me a cassette. It was like somebody had dubbed it and said, hey, listen to this. And it was Dancing on the Head of the Serpent. It sounds very, very different. On this one you have that, I mean, this itself, both versions, is fantastic. It has on disc 1, the US version here, he added a track, Matt did, Covered by Blood, from the Tretti compilation. I'm not totally familiar with what that is exactly. I can also tell you, though, on the Can't Stop Us Now, it has a couple of bonus tracks on there as well. And we'll get to some of this stuff here. So let's talk about two more albums after Prophet. In 1997, they released a record that over here in America, it was called R.A.D., Rock Against the Devil. And I believe in Sweden, it had a different title. Most of them do. Which was Volume 4, which I'm probably butchering the Swedish translation. There were a couple of greatest hit compilations as well. But as I understand, Volume 4, R.A.D., it also had tracks on it that the band had written but never recorded before. And there's some great stuff on there. So it's very, very hard to find. Don't have a hard copy of it to show you. Sorry. They also recorded one more album after that, 2010, the album She. 13 tracks. Great production. Sounds fantastic. Very organic. High energy rock and roll, hard rock. You know, still kind of that 70s kind of vibe. After Prophet, they went back to that 70s essentially type style. Dancing on the Head of the Serpent, it still really had a 70s underpinnings with 80s production quality and values. Some great songs on there. So let's get to it, shall we? So coming in at number 10, top 10 actually comes in off of the She album from 2010. It's the second track. It's called Come On. It's a high energy rock song, fantastic hook, and it's driving, very solid tune. Again, Come On from the She album. Coming in at number 9, this is from the Warrior album, an epic. And if you're familiar with that album, you already know what I'm talking about. Clocking in at about 11 minutes, very long, structured with a piano intro that builds, and then the guitars and everything kick in, and it rocks and builds to a crescendo. It's a fantastic song. And of course, I'm talking about Sodom. A brilliant song. Nobody would write a song like that today. Nobody with that terminology would use those words and expect any kind of commercial acceptance. But Jerusalem has always been about teaching and preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. And You Can't Stop Us Now was a little pulled back, a tinge on that, lyrically a little different, but the rest of that catalog, yeah, absolutely. Sodom comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, this is off the Dancing on the Head of the Serpent album. Coming in at number 8 is the second track on that record. I'm talking about Plunder Hell and Populate Heaven. The lyrics sound a little clunky when you get to the chorus, but it's a great groove. It's melodic. It's still driving. When you listen to the original Swedish recording, and then you listen to that re-record that they did, vastly different. Much superior was the re-recorded. More energy, more life. A great song. Plunder Hell, Populate Heaven. Definitely one. It's melodic, driving, great song with a great hook. Again, coming in at number 8. So coming in at number 7, we're going back to the Prophet album. And I'm talking about the album opener, Cities on Fire. I had a hard time picking a song off of this record because there are so many great tunes on here. But City on Fire, it's fantastic. It's got a great hook. You get that U2 vibe, but it's heavy. It's not like it's this new wavy thing. It's heavy. The bass just pulls it all in, everything together. You get a great keyboard section in there, and it just a lot of energy, a ton of energy on that song. Coming in at number 7, Cities on Fire. Coming in at number 6, this is a second song off of this album, from 1988, Dancing on the Head of the Serpent. The third track, Rebels for Jesus Christ. A great melodic tune. It was upbeat, a great hook, and a lot of energy. I really found on that record that there were songs that had a lot more energy to them. Definitely had a little more 80s sounding production, and it's kind of ironic when you look at the pictures. You know, you would never mistake Jerusalem for any kind of pop metal or glam, but you know, on the photos on the back of the record, everybody's kind of trying to get the hair kind of poofed up a little bit, never mistaking them for any kind of a glam rock band. But it's a great song, Rebels of Jesus Christ. A fantastic song, comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5, and this one I really have debated quite a bit, because you know, there on some of these songs, there's so little that separates them as far as being my favorites, except when I get to the top 2 or 3. This track, I wish I could have seen the video that went along with it, because I understood when they toured the U.S., there were scenes they used from the movie Jesus of Nazareth that were projected on a video screen. And when you listen to it, and I'm talking about, it's a track off of the Live in His Majesty's Service, Live in the USA, the song Time. The live version is vastly superior to the version you find on the Front Row compilation record, which is a studio. It's kind of ironic. A lot of times when you listen to Jerusalem, you listen to the studio stuff and you go, okay, especially on the earlier material. Then when you get to something where you watch a video of them performing live, or on Live in the USA, and you listen to it, it's like, is this even the same song? Is this the same band? There's so much energy. And that particular track, to me, just absolutely cranks. So, if you'll excuse me 1 second here. Right back, you know, the phone, you know. Fantastic song. Time comes in at number 5 from In His Majesty's Service. You got to make sure you get this as being the version that you want to hear. Coming in at number 4. This is when things starting to tighten up a bit. You know, it's this song, when I first heard this record, there were certain songs I just bypassed because I felt like they were a little too poppy for me. And, you know, when I first heard most of this stuff, we're talking 1983, 1984, 1985, and what was I wanting to listen to? I was wanting to listen to Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. That's what you're competing with, in essence. And this record just kind of crossed over a bit, not into that kind of heaviness. They were still bringing that 70s European hard rock, metal, you know, 70s vibe, but the production was better. And I'm talking about the title track off their third record, Warrior, which has this great introduction. It starts a slow build, a lot of wah pedal and just atmospherics from the guitar and drums and the bass and the keyboards a bit. It's the slow build until it just kicks in and it rocks. A great song. Warrior comes in at number 4, and that could have ranked higher in my list, frankly, but I have to tell you, the next song that I have on my list, the title track from that 1988 record, Dancing on the Head of the Serpent, comes in at number 3. Great keyboards. You know, I am not a big keyboard guy, but it was melodic. They were hooky. Again, the song, all the out songs on this record, they're designed on hooks and energy. And that opening song, you hear that intro riff, and it's a great tune. It's like, how can you not enjoy that? 1988, dancing on the head of the serpent. And how do you get a song title like that and then you're singing it? You know? Again, sometimes I think translating the stuff from Swedish to English, it almost feels clunky. It's like you have these long titles, and they stick with me. I can still hear that keyboard part in my head. So, great tune. Absolutely a great tune. Coming in at number 2. And these next 2 songs I thought about a long time, and because when I used to listen to these records when they first came out, I couldn't listen to this album enough because it was so much better than the studio albums before. And it's because it was recorded live. And having said that, the version, I like both versions of this song. And it's a great tune. Kind of got this, again, another kind of slow build with the keyboards and a great hook. And I'm talking about Man of the World. A song that talks about, you know, what are you going to do? Are you living for money? Or are you living for God? Are you living for this world? Or are you living for Jesus? Man of the World, the last song on Live in the USA, when Ulf Christensen I just feel like he's going full force. You know, what are you doing, Mr. Christian? What are you doing? And it just feels like, when I listen to it, it sounds like he just kind of throws his hands up in disgust as they finish the song. You know, because Christian people aren't doing what they should be doing. They should be loving their neighbor as themselves. And they're not. They should be showing the love of Jesus to others, and they're not. They should be giving of themselves, and they're not. It's a great song. And whether it's the studio version off of Warrior or the live version off of Live in the USA, you've got a fantastic song there at number 2, which leads me to my number 1. And when I thought about it, I was like, gosh, what exactly am I going to say about my number 1 song? I don't know. And what is going to be my number 1 song? Well, when I thought about it, what song could I loved immediately? And it's because it's fast, it's driving, it's really the only Jerusalem song they've ever written like this, and it only appears in one place. It appears on this album, and it's the title track, In His Majesty's Service. It's a fantastic song. I couldn't play it enough, you know, back in the day. I always wished that I could have seen Jerusalem in person. You know, a great song. And I always felt like I was the only person in Hayward, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, in California, period, that even knew who Jerusalem was or liked them at all. Great stuff. This live album is so well produced. It sounds so good. As I understand it, this was recorded in, you know, on the tour, but I believe it was a show in Texas where they recorded it. I could be wrong, but that's what I understand through the years. And it's a fantastic album. But In His Majesty's Service, it's fast, great keys, great guitar, great hook, even though it's a fast-paced tune, fastest song Jerusalem ever did. Well, there you go, my top 10. How about some honorable mentions? And some of you are probably going, but you didn't mention anything off the debut or anything like that. And that's really because, honestly, these records, I go back and I hear them now and I'm like, okay. But they didn't resonate with me when I was 14 or 15. This is 70s rock, hard rock. Like I say, you know, not as heavy as Uriah Heep or April Wine or The Who or Deep Purple, but you had keyboard, you had Hammond organ in there, a little 50s sounding rock, not really rock, you didn't call it rockabilly really back then, but on this one, Noah, great tune. Mr. Ego, another great song. High Tide, some fantastic stuff there. Honorable mentions. How about off of Volume 2? And it was really hard for me not to include the song Rock and Roll off of this album. Such a good song. But it just didn't quite make the cut. It's like right on the periphery. You know, if I was doing a top 15, Rock and Roll would be on there. But Wake Up, Introduction, oh, good song. Again, we're talking 70s, even though this came out in 1980, we're talking 70s rock, hard rock, Hammond organ type things. Good stuff. You know, off of the Warrior album, Constantly Changing, Ashes in Our Hands. What a cool song. Great song. It's also on Live in the USA. Fantastic stuff. And then a lot of stuff, Can't Stop Us Now. Now, when it came out, and I remember buying it going, I was just kind of soaking stuff up. I would play Warrior 5 times as much as I played Can't Stop Us Now. And it really has to do with the fact that the guitar on Can't Stop Us Now is kind of buried. The title track's a great song, and you really get a great version of it on the live album. It sounds fantastic. Loves You More, another good song. Tomorrow's World. The Waiting is on this album, but the version, and I'm like, it's not the same, sorry. There's a song on here, and we'll get to it in a minute, but, you know, Mourner's Parade, I liked, kind of subdued. Let's Go, and really I liked it because the guitar was driving, it was out in front. In His Majesty's Service, the song The Tide, cool song. Read Between the Lines, another cool song. The version again of Time is classic on here. From the Bottom of My Heart, but Read Between, there are lots of songs here that aren't on anything else, which is kind of, you know, you don't normally do that with a live album, but Jerusalem did. How about Dancing on the Head of the Serpent? Well, Whoa, Whoa, The Great Fall. Cool song, honorable mention there. We're Gonna Take Europe, another good one. Come Higher. That was one, when it first came out, it kind of eluded me. And when I went back through, I was like, man, that's a really good song. Catch the Devil, Catch the Thief. Great song as well. And then on Prophet, from 1994, Risen, Likes Them. That song, it likes them. It's got this, it's like when you're in the verses, it's kind of swirling and all of this stuff, and then it gets into the chorus, and it's got this great driving riff in the chorus. All this energy is there. On the Road, kind of a very fast, upbeat track with a kind of a staccato-like melody vocally. The Waiting Zone, another good song. Face in the Crowd, Truth, Be There With You, Umbrella. Just a really great record that I think is often overlooked because it came out in 1994. From R.A.D. Now, with R.A.D., as I understood it, they took, and maybe I'm wrong on this one, but they took a lot of songs that they had written but never recorded. R.A.D., I can tell you 3 songs right off the bat. The song